The Equal Opportunities Commission has launched the 2019-2020 report on the state of opportunities in Uganda. The Commission plays a vital role in ensuring that the authorities are made aware of the inequalities in various sectors of government so that there is equal distribution of resources and services across the country. In the new report, it was cited that there is a big gap in the education sector, with hardly any schools catering for the learning of children with special needs or disabilities. This means such children cannot compete with the able-bodied ones who will end up taking all the employment opportunities.
I found out that they do not have assistive devices in those few schools that are there. So it becomes very difficult if a parent has a special needs child, for example, who is visually impaired, and you have to take that child to Soroti, because that's where the school for the visually impaired is.
In the health sector, it was further noted that nearly all the health centers have no interpreters for the people with speech and hearing impairments, making it hard for them to interact with the few available medical workers or doctors.
They just sit the whole day and go back without any services. And if they are disabled women who come and they are pregnant and they need to explain to the doctor what has happened, or they have labor pains, no one understands their language. So others end up giving birth there. We are requesting that at least the Ministry of Health can put a sign language interpreter on these health centers so that they are able, at least if we can't put on each, let us find a day in a week to say that Tuesday, Wednesday, when you go to Chinoni Health Center 3, there is a sign interpreter. That person will go that day.
In the justice, law and order sector, people with special needs still have limited access to justice.
For the vulnerable people like women, they do not have money to go to courts to file cases, and yet the legal aid policy is not in place, and very few government agencies provide legal aid. The few civil society organizations which offer the legal aid are sometimes overwhelmed.
In agriculture, which is the backbone of the economy of Uganda, the research conducted in 45 districts indicates that women and older persons are left out of most of government programs like NADS and Operation Wealth Creation.
Older persons are forgotten. When they ask, how old are you? 60 years. No, you're old. You can't do the digging. Yet when you go to these rural areas, these are the people digging. These are the people in the agriculture. The women, they say, but you're supposed to look after children.
The Minister of Gender promised to table the report before Cabinet for consideration.
And for each ministry or sector, we shall point out the grey areas. That very need you've talked about, we will need to have more schools for special need. Not only just integrated in the main schooling system, but perhaps think of how special needs of different categories can have their specialized schools. If you have contracted Mbale-Tirinyi Road, for example, which is costing 200 billion, 60% of that contract, which is 30%, I guess, I'm just getting hypothetical figures, should go to a local company. That's one way of creating equality.
The Uganda National Roads Authority was allocated 4.3 trillion shillings in the last budget 2019-2020. And most of this money is normally channeled out under capital flight because most of the big projects here are done by the international companies. And the Ministry of Gender is re-emphasizing the point that there should be a 30% local content so that the local contractors can benefit from this amount of money. But the only challenge is that some of the funders like World Bank are not even aware of this government policy, which brings an indication that government is not walking the talk.
You see, the work of the commission is to tell you where you are naked, and then you dress up appropriately. That's really the whole intention.
This is the message that Muwebwa has for the government sectors who do not implement the recommendations by EOC.
Quite often you hear many agencies of government talking about inadequate resources. But you don't hear them telling you what they would want to do more if they were given more money. Because even when their budgets improve, you don't see a corresponding improve in covering these gaps.
According to the Commission, the government response in their findings has improved over time and it is expected to get better. Sylvia Nabatanzi, NTV.